Hi, everybody. Today I wanted to talk about the new onset refractory status epilepticus, that is, NOS. So, the first thing that we need to know about before going into the topic proper is other terminology which is surrounding this topic. So, the first thing is status epilepticus. So, when is it called as status epilepticus? This is a neurological emergency, and here there have been seizures happening for the last 5 to 10 minutes, and that 5 to 10 minute duration is specific for certain types of seizures. So, if it is happening for longer than 5 minutes in case of tonic clonic seizures, and for longer than 10 minutes in case of focal seizures with impaired consciousness. So, this definition was revised by the ILAE, which is the International League Against Epilepsy, in 2015. Then comes refractory status epilepticus, where there are seizures persisting beyond 30 to 60 minutes despite giving appropriate doses of two anti-seizure medications, and there is requirement of the general anesthesia drugs to terminate the seizure. And then comes super refractory status epilepticus, where there is recurrence of refractory status epilepticus beyond 24 hours of the general anesthetic therapy, or once we wean the drugs, then again the refractory status epilepticus comes back. Then it is called a super refractory status epilepticus. So then what is NORS? It is a clinical presentation and not a specific diagnosis in a patient who should not be having any pre-existing seizures or any other neurological disorder. And there is new onset refractory status epilepticus without a clear acute or active structural, toxic, or metabolic cause. So this includes patients with a viral or an autoimmune cause. And if no cause is identified, then it is called cryptogenic NORS or NORS of unknown cause. There is a sub category inside this which is called FIRES, that is febrile infection related epilepsy syndrome. So here, basically, there is a history of fever which is about 2 weeks to 1 day prior to the onset of status epilepticus. But it is not necessary that when the refractory status epilepticus has begun, there should be fever. So this Venn diagram basically gives a rough idea about all the terminologies and how they're nesting one within the other. So status epilepticus as the broad terminology, which is basically talking about any seizure that is persistent beyond 5 or 10 minutes. Then comes refractory, where you're requiring the administration of general anesthesia drugs. Then there is new onset refractory status epilepticus. That is, there is refractory status epilepticus without you knowing what is the cause, and in a patient who doesn't have any history of prior epilepsy and all of that. And then there's cryptogenic cause, where you don't know the cause, and then there is fires, where basically there is a history of fever 2 weeks to 1 day prior to the onset of refractory status epilepticus. It is seen in about 3.4 to 7.2 per 1 lakh per year. This is refractory status epilepticus. And in that, about 20% of the cases are NOS. But there is no real published figures on the incidence of NOS. In adults, it is seen that it is more commonly seen in the females than in males, and in pediatrics, it's the reverse. And it is seen that it has a mortality rate of about 16 to 27% in adults, with about 12% in children, and about 50 to 66% of the patients who have had this NORS end up with severe cognitive or functional impairment or a vegetative state, and they also have chronic refractory epilepsy. So why do we end up with this situation? So what happens is, in patients who are genetically susceptible, a minor viral infection acts as a trigger. So what do we mean by genetically susceptible hosts? They usually have polymorphisms in the SCN2A gene and the IL1RN gene. So when this trigger happens, the microglial and the astrocyte activation happens. This triggers a massive release of pro-inflammatory cytokines in the brain, because of which there is epilepsy. So basically, these inflammatory molecules are epileptogenic. So they reduce the seizure thresholds, and therefore seizure happens. It also causes a breakdown of the blood-brain barrier. That is why, despite of so much inflammation happening, the CSF only shows mild inflammatory markers. And another thing that has to be understood is refractory or status epilepticus itself is basically an imbalance between the excitation and the inhibitory pathways. So, for our inhibition, what happens is there is a failure. So, your GABA is responsible for the inhibition. What happens is, as there is prolonged seizure and neuroinflammation, there is endocytosis of this GABA receptors. So all your drugs that act via the GABA receptor, like the benzodiazepines, barbiturates, all of them lose their primary target and a tolerance is developed. So in the beginning, it would probably, act. The drug would help, but later on, it does not help. And simultaneously, there is an excitotoxic drive. That is, the pro-inflammatory cytokines like the interleukin 1 enhance the glutamatergic signaling and upregulates the surface NMDA and the AMPA receptors. So the excitation pathway is heightened and the inhibition is not happening. So how do these patients present? So normally in about 90% of the cryptogenic cases, they present in a healthy population with a prodrome of mild, non-specific either influenza-like symptoms with headache, GI, or any upper respiratory tract symptoms. But in case of fires, as mentioned earlier, there is history of fever 14 to 1 day prior to the onset of the seizures, and then there's an asymptomatic interval. So if you have to divide it, phase one would be prodrome, which is minus 14 to minus 1 day from the onset. Then there is an asymptomatic interval. After that, there is seizure onset. After that, there is progression. And finally, super refractory status epilepticus. That is when they eventually end up in the ICU. So, what are the causes? Most of the times, it is a cryptogenic thing, which means that there is no etiology identified despite exhaustive workup. And often this has longer duration and worse outcomes because it takes a long time to solve the issue. Then, in among the identifiable causes, autoimmune encephalitis is the most common. Next would be infections. Then toxic and metabolic components are also there. Along with that, there is a genetic component. So, how do you